Hi, welcome back to my channel, Stitch and Style by me, Nadia. And today I'm going to talk to you about the Dressmakers Ball and the dress that I sewed for it. I have just got back. On the way back from the Dressmakers Ball, which was in Leicester, we went to Sherwood Forest and saw the old oak tree. So legend has it that it was Robin Hood's meeting place. And today I'm wearing my Freya top this is in white jersey, 5% elastane, and the pattern is by Tilly and the Buttons. And I think it's in one of her books, but I'll put it down below here. And this white cardigan is ready to wear, and I'm just wearing it with a belt and some jeans and black and white Converse. So that's my outfit today. I'll put a picture in of me in the forest. So, the Dressmakers Ball. If you watched my last vlog, you will know that I had decided very last minute, after watching Adele Sew for Serenity, after watching her vlog which said, oh, this ticket's available. So actually I forgot to mention that to her when I saw her last night. So hi Adele, if you're watching. Yeah, you actually encouraged me to get my ticket for the ball. Anyway, yes, it was a very last minute decision, and I only had, not last weekend but the weekend before, to sew my dress. And I told you that the pattern had just arrived and I was waiting for the fabric. So the fabric turned up and I'd ordered a black satin backed fabric. It was actually viscose with satin one side and a matte finish on the other, from New Craft House. But I was trying to decide between two of their fabrics, and as soon as I'd kind of pressed the order button, I thought, oh, I wish I'd chosen the other fabric, which was a purple fabric. And then all I could think about was making a purple dress. This was on Saturday, and I decided to go to Leon's, my local fabric shop, and to see if they had any purple fabric. So I went there, and yes, they had some purple fabric. So I bought that and then washed and dried it on the Saturday, ready to start sewing on the Sunday. Now, the material wasn't exactly what I wanted. It is a polyester material. It's nice in terms of the weight of the fabric because it's neither too heavy nor too soft, and I quite like the way it moved. It's a very thick fabric to sew through, so my machine wasn't dealing with the fabric very well. So I changed machines. I actually thought my machine might have been broken, but when I used my other machine, it was sewing better, but I realised that the needle that I was using was only a 70, and actually I needed to go up to a 90 to sew through it because it was very difficult to pierce through the fabric. So I don't think my machine was actually broken, but it's always worth checking. That's my tip. Before you assume that your machine's broken, just maybe check you've got the right needle. So without further ado, let me show you the pattern that I decided on. And it's this pattern, the Vogue 1723, and I absolutely loved this version. I love the puffy sleeves and I quite like the length of it, but I had actually decided to lengthen it when I made it. And it's got this high neckline, and on the back there is a bow, but it doesn't show you on the packet. So I'll insert a picture of the back of the dress and how that's supposed to look with the bow. Now, the reason why I chose this dress is that I didn't want anything strappy. I prefer to have more coverage at the top. Yeah, I love the big puffy sleeves. I love puffy sleeves. And I like the relaxed fit. And also with the time constraints that I had for making the dress, I didn't have time to fit the dress. So with a fitted dress, for me, I would need quite a few adjustments. I would need a small bust adjustment, I would need to lengthen the bodice, and I would probably need a sway back adjustment as well. So doing all that, I just did not have time. So, and I'd googled special occasion dresses, patterns, and this was one of the first ones that came up that I liked. So yeah, I decided on this. I will now show you pictures. I actually didn't get the best photos because everywhere I went the lighting wasn't quite right, and I also didn't take my proper camera, so I only had camera on my phone. So the best I could get were these pictures. I'm not going to put the dress on now or anything. So yeah, I decided to wear it with some tights. I got these very high platform shoes that were actually surprisingly comfortable to wear. There was a bit of a drama with getting the shoes, but oh well. I've got them in the end, and yeah, maybe that's a story for another time. And I also wore this little fur gilet thing which was ready to wear. And I got that recently, and I just thought with the big puffy sleeves, and because I do like to wear a big puffy sleeve, and I can see other dresses that I want to wear out in the winter, a gilet or something like that would be really come in handy. So as I said, this pattern appealed to me because you really don't have to do much fitting. It's described on the packet as a very loose fitting lined pullover dress, stand-up collar extending into ties in the back, slit opening at the neck, side seam pockets, balloon sleeves with stay. And I've never done a stay before, and I've never made a line dress before, so I was a little bit nervous about it. And one of the most difficult things was actually the cutting out. And I went downstairs and did it on a bigger table because my sewing room here is very small, so I didn't have space to have it so I could have the full pattern piece on a table or on the floor or anything. So yeah, I went downstairs. We've got a big table downstairs, and it's the first time I've used my dining table for cutting out, and it perhaps won't be the last because it was actually quite handy to be able to fit the full dress pieces on downstairs, because they're not only are they quite long, they were also quite wide. So that's the reason, because of the width of the dress, is why you cut it out with and you've got a centre front seam and a centre back seam. Now actually I have measured the dress, the width of the dress, and I could actually, in my size, fit it on 150 centimetre wide fabric. So if you did want to make this and you didn't want the centre front, because if you're wanting to cut out a pattern, you'd either have to pattern match, or you know, you might not be bothered about pattern matching, but if you were, you would either have to pattern match or you could try and cut it out on the fold, and I think I would have just been able to fit it out on the fold. If maybe you couldn't, you could just slim it down at the sides a little bit. So I couldn't actually remember what size I did, so I have to get my pattern pieces out. So I did the size 14, and it tells me that the bust measurement was a size 44 inches for the size 14. The waist measurement for the size 14 was 56 inches. The pattern comes in two size bands. This is the 8 to 16 size band, and they have a 16 to 24 size band, and the size 24, it says on the packet, goes up to a 46-inch bust, 39-inch waist and 48-inch hip. Now, I know that Vogue patterns can come up quite big, and I looked at the finished size measurements before I decided what size I was going to cut out. Now, it says the size 14 on the packet, it says it's for a 36-inch bust, a 28-inch waist and a 38-inch hip. And I'm bigger on all three. My bust is 1 inch bigger, and my waist is 2 inches bigger, and my hips are 4 inches bigger. But I think you can just discount the waist and the hip measurements because of the style of the dress. I was a little bit more concerned about the bust size, and especially if you've watched my videos before, you know that I have a Dressmaker's A cup, so I often have to go off the upper bust measurement to make sure that I have enough room at the top for my shoulders. But because of the style of this dress has the big puffy sleeves, I thought even if it's slightly too tight at the top, I will probably have enough room because of the shape of the dress and the sleeves. So yeah, I was brave and plumped for the size 14 on this dress, and the only thing I did was lengthen it. As you'll see, it's just above the knee here, and I wanted to take it down just below the knee. I lengthened the pattern pieces by 19 centimetres. When I traced out the pattern, I didn't trace out a separate lining piece, and I just cut the lining pieces the same length as the dress and then decided to take it up when I was hemming it. So when I first read about sleeve stays, I was totally confused about what they were, and I started googling sleeve stays, and I was thinking it was something you buy to put in your sleeve. It's not, it's just the lining attaches. You have a slimmer sleeve lining piece that attaches to the puffier outer sleeve, and then it creates like a bubble hem. You know, like on those 80s dresses where you have a bubble hem. Yeah, it creates like that for your sleeve. And I've never done one of those before, and I've never fully lined a dress before, but it was fully lined. And the tricky bit was to get the collar nice and neat, especially at the back, but I think I managed that quite well. There was some hand stitching to do around the front of the collar, just so you do like little stitches to attach the inside of the collar to the seam, and then it's all neat on the inside. I will just get my dress out and show you. So there's the inside, and it all looks nice and neat. My stitching's not the neatest, but I was impressed. I was patient enough to hand stitch it. So you have like a little hook and eye closure, and at the back, and then the slit at the back is just long enough so you can fit that on over your head. And the pattern was designed to tie at the back, but I was trying it on for my husband, and my husband said, "Oh, do you know what? I think I would prefer the bow to be at the front. Why don't you try that?" So I put the bow to the front, and yes, I think that worked. So my husband was really happy that I went with his suggestion of putting the bow at the front. And yeah, so much so he said, "Oh, it's called the Ben bow." So yes. And he was like, "Are you going to tell people that I suggested to do it at the front?" I said, "Yes, I will." So there you go. I've given him a little shout out. I'm really happy with the dress, actually. I did find the lining material, so I really struggled. I tried to do like a baby double fold hem, and I was really struggling to get it to do it. So in the end, I just decided to overlock it and then turn it over and sew it down. Oh, there's threads. And this material was actually quite tricky to hem, and after I'd hemmed it, the hem looked terrible and it all was looking like sticking out and waving everywhere. Anyway, I gave it a good press and it sat fine after that. I did find it a bit tricky where the back ended here, just to get that neat. I did it and then I thought, oh no, that doesn't look right. I unpicked some of it and then actually thought, no, it looked better when it was sewn a bit further up. So I just went back and then sewed it again a bit further up. That's all I can think to tell you about the dress. I really enjoyed wearing it. I was a little bit unsure whether to take it shorter or to keep it at that length, but I thought if I do it a little bit longer than I want, I can always decide to take it up later. And after I'd done it, it took quite a long time to hem both the lining and the outer, and in the end I just thought, oh no, I'm just going to leave it as it is. And I think it sits quite nice under the knee. I did ask my husband whether I looked like a big purple one, and Adele, after I'd asked my husband that, Adele, so for Serenity, she'd made a purple dress and she was saying how she felt like a dairy milk bar before she put her lovely plique on, which looked gorgeous. So that made me laugh. I told her that when I saw her. Anyway, it was so nice to speak to Adele, and I just want to say a few thank yous to other people who I met at the ball. Starting with Michelle, Sewing Bunny, who, when I arrived, I was an absolute bag of nerves, and I came in behind the Sewing Bee contestants, so behind Mark and Nicole who were on the Sewing Bee, and I was so nervous, and I walked into the room and Michelle from the Sewing Bunny gave me such a lovely big smile, and it was so reassuring. So thank you, Michelle, if you're watching. And the other person I want to say a big thank you to is Sean, Kittenish Behaviour. I had a little chat with her and said, oh, can I say hello? And yeah, we introduced ourselves when we were getting drinks, and she knew I was on my own. So when I walked into the ballroom where we were all sitting down to have dinner, everybody was on these big tables, and I was kind of looking around the room thinking, oh, where am I going to sit? I don't know where to go. Anyway, Sean spotted me and gave me a big wave and said, come and sit next to me, which was so kind of her. It made me feel also very welcome. I mean, people in the sewing community are absolutely lovely. I also want to say hello to Suki, who's one of my viewers, and we had a lovely chat at the bar, and when I got to know her a bit, and she was telling me about all of her twirls for the dresses and all her preparations for the ball, which was really interesting to learn about. She had some really creative ideas, and I think we all go through those processes, so I could totally relate to her. I know this feels a bit like an Oscars speech, but I did want to say a couple more hellos. So hello to Adele, and it's quite interesting actually because we started our channels at about the same time, and we had a lovely chat, and I really enjoyed speaking and meeting Adele. And the other person that I really want to say hello to is Anna, who looked absolutely fantastic in her gown. Oh wow, it was a real standout of the night, and I won't tell you anything about it because I know she'll want to do a big reveal, but I was so excited to meet her in person, and we had a couple of photos together, and that was really sweet. I, like most of you, I'm sure, have been watching vloggers for a long time before I started my channel, so I feel like I really know a lot of these people, and I also said hello to Angela, Devon Thread Tails, and Karen, So Little Tie, and everybody's outfits. That's one of the real highlights of the Dressmakers Ball, if you ever get to go, is to see people doing the catwalk and walking up and down, seeing the dresses move, seeing people's creative visions come to life, and everybody looked fantastic. I had a really good evening, and I did get up and do some dancing to Nicole's DJ set, which was really good. I love a bit of a boogie, and I was a bit disappointed at midnight when it was all finished, and I was thinking about going and maybe carrying on somewhere, but I didn't. I was very sensible and went back to the hotel room, and I'm glad I did, because I was absolutely shattered after all the excitement of the ball. So for anybody who's interested in my triathlon trials, I will give you a little bit of an update on my triathlon. So for people who know, I did my 4th triathlon, but it was my first one swimming in the sea last weekend in Llandudno. I was really happy with my swim. I'd never learned to do front crawl until I started lessons about 3 years ago. So, and I'm just getting to the stage now where I can swim for about 400 metres in the pool, constantly doing front crawl. But swimming outside is a completely different experience, and I find it quite overwhelming. And we got into the sea in Llandudno, and my heart rate was up, and I just decided to keep my head above the water to let my heart rate calm down. And every time I put my head into the water, I was thinking, oh no, I don't like it. So I think I just need a little bit more practice of sea swimming to get comfortable enough to put my face in the water and really go for it with swimming front crawl. That's just practice. But my swimming coach did say that he did Wales Ironman couple of weeks ago, and he said that he swam a little bit on breaststroke because he struggled when he first got into the water, and that made me feel better. And then the bike was brilliant. I loved the bike. It was quite hilly. You go around the Great Orme, which is a big hill next to the ocean in Llandudno. If you've ever been, it's fantastic. I love the place. So we went round twice, and I wanted to do it 2 more times like the ones that were doing the longer distance were, but I only got to do it twice. And then it's just quite a short run along the prom, and it was a 5k, but it's quite windy on the way back, and we had to go out and back twice. So a little bit boring, but yeah, and it was great to get it finished. And I've hopefully have inserted some pictures there for anybody who's interested in knowing a bit more about triathlon news. So that's everything I had to update you on. I have done another make in between, and I don't know how I fitted it in, but I did do another make in between doing my dress for the ball and now. But I will do another vlog on that next week. So hopefully I can have this video out and then one in another week. And there won't be such a long delay between my next couple of videos. I have been talking for a very long time, so if you've reached the end of my vlog and listened to all of my trials and tribulations and my Oscar speech, thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!